Szanowni Państwo, Klub Polsko-Kanadyjski, najstarsza organizacja polonijna w Ottawie, założona w 1936 roku, ma zaszczyt uczestniczyć w tym ważnym spotkaniu. Naszą misją jest pielęgnowanie polsko-kanadyjskiego dziedzictwa, historii i kultury w Kanadzie. W ramach tej misji kluczowym elementem jest zachowanie pamięci o deportacjach obywateli polskich na Sybir, dramatycznych wydarzeniach historycznych, które pozostają niemal nieznane szerokiej opinii publicznej. In our ongoing efforts to raise awareness about the tragic events of World War II, our organization collaborated with a Member of Parliament to deliver a significant statement in the House of Commons in February 2021. This marked the commemoration of the 81st anniversary of the first wave of mass deportation of Polish citizens to Siberia during the war, and was the first statement on this topic in the Parliament of Canada. This initiative was inspired by the dedicated work of Mr. Edward Olszówka, who had tirelessly advocated for the remembrance of this largely overlooked aspect of World War II history. Mr. Olszówka continues to be a strong supporter of Sybiracy community in the Ottawa area. Together with him and other members of Polonia, we successfully organized 2 recent meetings of Sybiracy in Ottawa, centered around the poignant theme Ocalić od zapomnienia. Podczas gdy w Polsce Sybiracy są dobrze zorganizowani i reprezentowani, w Kanadzie brakuje podobnej struktury, która roztroszczyłaby się o ich historię i zapewniała, że pamięć o ich losach przetrwa. Czas mija nieubłaganie, ale naszym obowiązkiem jest działać, aby zachować te wspomnienia dla przyszłych pokoleń. Tematem naszej dyskusji dzisiaj będzie właśnie to wyzwanie, jak możemy ocalić od zapomnienia pamięć o tych historycznych wydarzeniach i ludziach, którzy brali w nich udział. Opowiem Ci moją historię. To hasło, którym posłużyło się Muzeum Pamięci Sybiru w Białymstoku, organizując w ramach Światowego Dnia Sybiraka wyjątkowy program zwiedzania. Na trasie zwiedzający mogli spotkać Sybiraków, którzy osobiście dzielili się swoimi i swoich rodzin historiami. We have adopted the theme Opowiem Ci moją historię, let me tell you my story, for our gathering today. Zaprosiliśmy dzisiaj Sybiraków, ich dzieci oraz wnuki, by podzielili się swoimi refleksjami na temat tego, jak oni sami i ich rodziny starają się zachować pamięć o przeszłości. Naszymi rozmówcami dzisiaj są Sybiraczki pani Joanna Erland oraz Alice Basarki, pani Teresa Kusiak, córka i wnuczka Sybiraków, pan Bogdan Gajecki, wnuk Sybiraka, doświadczony w rejestrowaniu wspomnień. To guide our discussion, we are asking you to address some of the questions. What motivated you to share your or your family story? For whom did you write your story? Why it is important to share the memories with future generation? And what challenges have you faced while writing and sharing your stories, and what could help? Let's begin with Joanna Erland, who wrote her story twice in a way. Mrs. Joanna.
Dzień dobry. Nie będę opowiadała o swojej całej historii, tylko przede wszystkim napisałam zasadniczo jedną książkę. So I have 2 books. They're all there. One written is in hand and the other one is typewritten. And they differ a little slightly in their look, but they both contain the same story. I also have an album, which one of my songs called my 3rd book, because it contains my condensed autobiography, short descriptions of places that I have been, and each photograph is labeled. That album was sort of my guide for writing my story. In it, I have also a new group of pictures in which are my parents and my oldest brother. And 2 photographs from my first funeral. Those pictures were a result of why my book started with this parents with my
It's okay, it's okay.
Simply one day, as I was looking at a certain picture, I stopped at first page. When I saw myself in white dress, I just froze. My mind switched to past and I broke down. I started to write all through my family, my home. They all were gone, but they all were visible, vivid in my mind. I enjoyed writing about traditions, events, my carefree childhood. My serious writing began after I applied for my Siberian Cross. As I did my writing, in order to make things right, I had to do a lot of reading and lots of searching. Time was passing by. I did not rush with my writing, but after I met Mr. Edward, he's here, I don't think so. He was urging me to write. Then I became very sick and COVID-19 was announced. I was at home. I didn't go to church. One day, when Mr. Edward with friend visited me and asked me to how my writing was going, I just picked up my book, my manuscript, handed it over to him, and I said, here it is. If you wish, you can do with it whatever you want to do with it. And he did. So a few days later, he phoned me and told me that he found someone who wishes to bound my book. A więc dzięki panu Edwardowi Olszówka, moja książka, mój rękopis zobaczyły światło dzienne, za co jestem jemu bardzo wdzięczny. Jeśli chodzi o moją drugą książkę, która jest typewritten, to tylko zawdzięczam mojej synowej Danucie, Erland i memu synowi Ryszardowi, którzy mieli dużą cierpliwość i włożyli dużo pracy, a praca była bardzo żmudna. Jeszcze raz dziękuję im wszystkim. Dziękuję również pani Danucie za to, że pomogła mi przekazać tą książkę, jak ja otrzymałam Krzyż Sybiraka, przekazać panu ambasadorowi Kurnickiemu, który prawdopodobnie przesłał ją do Muzeum Pamięci. Dziękuję za uwagę.
Ja z domu jestem Alicja Dąbrowska, ale mnie łatwiej mówić po angielsku niestety. So, in English, I was born in Kazakhstan. My parents met on the train going to Kazakhstan. It's a very complicated and long story, which I was always very curious about. So I started, after my parents died, I started researching, and I learned so much. And for all of you, each one of you has a story. You should be writing it all down. one thing you will learn is that you knew nothing when you started. You learn so much when you actually try to put things on paper. Now, I feel very passionately that everybody should write their story. But I also have very ambitious desires to go a little further. I have spoken about my story to the B'nai B'rith, to my local church in Nepean, to people here at Dom Polski. But each time, the people I talk to are either Polish or my neighbors who are curious and promptly forgot everything I said. I want this to result in a knowledge that people will have of what Russia did to Poland. It was criminal. Everybody knows what the Germans did. But Russia was an ally. You know, they say to me, today, Russia has attacked Ukraine. Well, Ukraine is trying to separate from Russia. They have every right to fight back. No, if they knew their history, that's not true. And what's more, if they ever defeat the Ukrainians, Poland will be next. And all the countries that were behind the Iron Curtain will be subject to the same thing. We have to fight back. And the only way I know how to do that is to tell the story again and again. But we have to find a medium where they will listen to you. I've learned over time that the best way to attract attention is to tell a funny story. And I have lots of them. I can get your attention. But when the story's over, what have I done? Nothing. I'm not there to promote myself and tell you how cute I was when I was 5 years old. I want the story out of the atrocities that Russia did, of the people who died, of the suffering. My parents were arrested. They were never told why. My mother's family was arrested by mistake. They were looking for someone else, but that didn't forgive them. My father's family was guilty of having university degrees. They wanted to be rid of them because these are the people that would influence the public in the future. So I was hoping, not to speak today, but I was hoping to learn how to get this story across. One idea that actually is not on topic, but would be very helpful, is if the embassy could organize a trip for the Sybiraks or anybody else who was interested to go to Białystok, to the museum, and to see firsthand. I'm not worried about the cost. I would be very happy to pay my own way. But at 83, I'm leery to travel alone. I think it would be very helpful to open eyes and start the story moving. I have followed the Krzyży Syberia website. I've learned a lot from there. But still, who looks at it other than other Sybiraks? What can I say? Thank you.
So my story is having listened to mostly my mother talk about what they went through over years and years, 12 years, I guess, from the time that they were forced out of home in Poland until they made it to Canada. And I used to hear bits and parts. When I was a little girl, I heard nothing. I'd hear, sometimes the family would get together and they would talk, and I'd hear crying, and of course I didn't want to go there because it's not pleasant stories. And it wasn't until much later, you know, I got older, left home, I had children. My mom would talk more and more about things, and she would tell me stories, tell the grandchildren stories. And I thought, I better start writing this all down. My mother was not a good storyteller. She jumped from one place to another. So I'm putting a book together, and there's part of it right there. So you can see it's huge. It's trying to get, you know, the story about what happened when they were in Egypt for 1 month, what happened, where did they live, and my mother would draw little maps she remembered in Lebanon. It was the first time that they had a home since they left Poland when they got to Lebanon, and she drew me a little map that they were like 1 block from the Mediterranean Sea, and she just relived everything every time she told me the stories, and was such a good storyteller. So I started writing it all down and thought, who knows this stuff? Who hears it? And even if, like, I just want my children, my grandchildren, my great-grandchildren to know what's happened in the family, to know, like, my parents, my grandparents were such wonderful people. I think, how did they be so wonderful after the horrific things they went through? And just wanted to have their history recorded. So I'm in the midst, it's an ongoing years-long project that I've been working on. I find it difficult. My parents, my grandparents kept everything. Every piece of paper that they ever had from when they left that they can keep. So I've got little fingerprints when they were fingerprinted. They were going to go to actually India. They were going to be sent to India. But my mother had an eye infection, just a little girl, she had an eye infection and they wouldn't send her. So instead, they ended up going to Lebanon. So it's just all these little things. I've got that, and ration cards, and their names are on the ship that brought them to England. Like, it's just amazing how much information is out there. But I start writing the story, and I thought, I've got to start writing the background too. I can't just say in my book that, oh, when amnesty was declared, they went to Uzbekistan. Because my kids, my grandkids, aren't going to know a thing about what's this amnesty, what happened. So I'm trying to put the history of what happened as well. And not many people know the history of Eastern Poland in World War II. As you said, everybody knows what Hitler did. People don't know what Stalin did. And so it's a work in progress, and I find too some of the hard parts for me is knowing what to do with some of the material I have. My grandmother had albums full of pictures, especially when she was in Iran, when she was in Lebanon. Well, I don't know, like, unless there's a picture of my grandmother in it, I don't know these people, but I don't know what to do with these pictures. I don't want to throw them away, but what do I do with it? Like, if there was an exhibit somewhere, if there was a catalog of things somewhere, even if you don't know who the people are, you see how they lived, you see the tents in the background, you see what they wore when they were working as nurses, as doctors. And I just don't know what to do with the stuff that I have, don't know how to get my book going. There's all kinds of, and I don't understand it all. I have never been to Poland. And although my parents are both Polish, I'm first generation here in Canada, it's like I need to go, but I've lost a lot of my Polish tongue, so it makes it a little bit difficult. And so I have a whole bunch of things I don't know what to do, and I've got this big binder that, you know, it just gets bigger and bigger.
Answer to your question.
Good, I'm glad, because I don't know what to do.
Okay, proszę Państwa, Bogdan Gajewski. Chciałem powiedzieć, że właśnie in answer to your question about what to do. The thing is that we, in this time of the century, I would say, we just left with electronics only. So there's no much of the papers because people tend not to read books anymore. And any form of communication right now goes through electronics, generally speaking. So the thing is that we would like to use electronics in terms of movies because movies in today's world are traveling very fast across continents. So once we put a movie on YouTube, it's being watched all over the world for people who want to watch them. So that's, I think, the best way of spreading the information. So we would like to contact you privately and make all this story happen and document it on a movie. So that would be something.
That sounds like a wonderful idea, yes.
W socjalistycznych przemianach Związku Radzieckiego część kary została zamieniona na wydalenie z terenu Związku Radzieckiego. Tak, także są takie historie. Także chciałem podziękować bardzo za uczestnictwo. I proszę Państwa, ja rozumiem, że czas nas, że tak powiem, nagli. Czy jeszcze ktoś z Państwa może ma jakieś pytania, to jeszcze możemy odpowiedzieć. Dwa pytania może. A jak nie, to...
Może jak nikt nie ma pytania, to ja coś powiem tego, bo dla mnie to jest bardzo, bardzo ważne, że nie tylko ja, tylko moje dzieci i kiedyś inne dzieci, tak jak ja wiem, dla mnie troszeczkę może jest łatwiej po angielsku, ale szkoda, że ja jeszcze nie mam, jak się mówi, grandchildren. To są prawnuki? Ja nie wiem, staję się. Ale żeby oni też wiedzieli o tym jest bardzo ważne, ja myślę, że i są różne rozmaite rzeczy w social media o tym. Nie tylko książki, które były napisane, tylko że jest taki bardzo dobry 5-part documentary. 5-part, ja mogę link posłać, bo to jest bardzo dobre też, że już dobry film zrobiony o tym wszystkim, tylko żeby zrobić znowu więcej i więcej tych historii znać. Ja myślę, że to, jak się mówi, there's never enough. That documentary is a really good one. I would recommend it. It's 5 parts, all about this. I have it right here. It's called Poles Deported to Siberia. And it's a 5-part documentary series done in 2011 years ago. I had shared it with a lot of my friends. Remember, like Margie Mamush? And when they saw this and they actually started watching the series, they were shocked at how they knew nothing about this. And jak to widzieli, to później musieli z mamą rozmawiać. Margie przyszła do ciebie i ona miała tyle pytań o tym. I wiesz, ona mówiła, że dla niej było bardzo przykro, że ona nic o tym nie wiedziała, aż to zobaczyła. Więc tak jak Pan mówił, więcej w social media trzeba robić o tych rzeczach, że nie tylko książki, tylko wiesz, filmy, documentaries, nawet postings, nawet wiesz, social media postings o tym, że ja bym chciała coś tam dać na Instagram o tym wszystkim, co dzisiaj się stało tutaj, żeby więcej ludzi o tym słyszeli.
May I say just one word?
Masz.
I recommend, the only thing is everything should be done in English language. Just forget writing anything in Polish, because we'll be just in our own surroundings only, and it doesn't go outside. Everything has to be done in English, which is the universal language of the world at the moment. And I think that everything should be done in English.
First, the story of Sybiracy outside of Poland is indeed known very little. I want to assure you that it is well known in Poland. Obviously, the Polish schooling system is providing information in this regard, and the Polish identity is filled with the dramatic stories of our parents, grandparents, our relatives, etc. So Poland is okay in this regard. We also have good new institutions like the museum that was mentioned. The Polish history is dramatic in general. Only this year we observed the anniversary of Monte Cassino, round anniversary, 80th anniversary, round anniversary of the Warsaw Uprising, 80th anniversary of liberation of Auschwitz-Birkenau is coming up. Every year we have many anniversaries, and we discuss those topics. We do discuss it usually in our Polish circles. This embassy is doing its best in terms of numbers of events that we do, and only this year we've done many of them on history-related topics. And we also do our best to publish the information in in English on our social media, on all the social media that we are using. It's but obviously it's the Polish community in Canada is doing a lot of work as well. Much of that work is happening in Polish, and you're right. And but it is very difficult to disseminate those ideas and those topics. But we should not get discouraged. My sense, after many conversations with the Canadians, is, for example, that very few Canadians have a vague idea what was Monte Cassino, for example. Every Pole knows about the Battle of Monte Cassino. Canadians fought in the Battle of Monte Cassino as well. In Canada, nobody knows what is Monte Cassino. I mean, there is some sort of some vague understanding. So it's not only and it's not an encouraging thought that Sybiracy are not that known in Canada. Generally, the history people in contemporary world don't care much about history. But it's I'm saying this is sad. But this is just to encourage us to continue our work, because the work of our Polish organizations in Canada is recognized. It should be a little bit more in English. I would agree with this. But an interesting thought about the visit to the museum in Białystok. I will after this event I will ask the director of the museum, because I'm sure they are organizing events and they invite Sybiracy to their events. I think it would be a good idea to think about, and they are considering cooperating with Sybiracy in Canada. There we had we worked together with the club on something that didn't work last time, but we will continue that work in months and years to come. We don't have obviously all the time in the world, but it's a good thought. Thank you for this. I will consult with the museum. So once again, thank you everybody for coming and for being here. Thank you.
Drodzy Państwo, były czwartek odbyła wydarzenia.
To było bardzo interesujące. W tej krótkiej dyskusji chcieliśmy usłyszeć bardzo istotne głosy Sybiraków i ich rodzin, które z wielką troską starają się zachować pamięć o swoich przeżyciach. Today we had the opportunity to hear the perspective of the Sybiracy, who are deeply committed to preserving an intergenerational memory of the Sibir exile. We also hear from Bogdan about some innovative approaches to safeguarding both written and audio-recorded recollection from Sybiraks and their descendants. And we have our ideas what could be done. Perhaps in the future it will be helpful to create an informal group of friends of Siberians to help keep the stories alive. This is something we can talk about it. There is also a suggestion that perhaps it should be educational video should be created as a part of the history curriculum for the Polish school. We have started a sort of informal discussion about that, and we are hopeful that if it happens, it will be useful in educating the younger generation and preserving the memories. As we know, the 85th anniversary is coming next year, and we're hoping that perhaps it will be a good opportunity to launch some new initiative we have been talking about today. I assume that everybody's seen the books which have been written and some documentation. I believe there is more on the table in the foyer, so people can also look. Just please don't remove them, because those are personal memories. And I believe this is it for today. Serdecznie dziękuję Sybirakom i ich rodzinom za udział w dzisiejszym spotkaniu. Thank you all for the participation, and I don't know, are we now going into the reception mode?
Yes, I will.
Okay,
I will say
okay, you'll say that. Okay, thank you very much.
Drodzy Państwo, drodzy goście, to koniec tej części oficjalnej. I tak jak Pani Agnieszka powiedziała, zanim przejdziemy na poczęstunek w sali po drugiej stronie korytarza do sali Batory, może zapraszamy do wspólnego zdjęcia. Dziękuję Państwu bardzo.